What is going on, y'all? We are going to talk about a Yale today in this video, specifically a Yale double cylinder deadbolt, or for that matter, a single cylinder. However, we're going to be focused on a double cylinder deadbolt. Before we get started with that, I'm fully aware of fire code, all that. However, we do work for a contractor who does door installations for other customers. We are simply keying up the locks to match the key. I'm not putting these in anywhere. That is just like selling it in a retail environment and keying it for a customer. So just to clear that out of the way, yes, double cylinder deadbolts are against fire code in many jurisdictions. However, what we're going to be talking about is this Yale D series deadbolt. This is a D2222222 deadbolt. And let's flip the camera around. Now, to keep this kind of short, I will say that Yale has undergone many changes over the years. First, they were really heavy residential. And then, of course, Yale's been around forever. And then they kind of went commercial and priced they really didn't have a residential style of lock available for kind of a while without paying a lot of money for commercial. Now they have Yale D series. These are made in Mexico. So if we shut down something, then we won't have these deadbolts. So yes, we're going to take a look at this deadbolt. Now, these are actually really good deadbolts. So they come with the cup. They come with two long screws. They come with the mounting screws and these little something screws right there. I don't know what those are for. And also a pack of tail pieces. Now, that is what we were focusing in on this. Like, and you may say, I never see that. Well, I will say that if you do pick up jobs from contractors or people who do that, Yale has what's called a fast ship program, and it's really popular because they can get stuff overnighted to them, and it's that is pretty much seen with like door manufacturers or people who install doors. I'm sure it's available to anybody if you want to sign up with it, but since we order through distributors, like IDN or Flake or somebody, we don't really order Yale in mass quantity. However, door companies do, and we rekey a whole bunch of these. They do come in Schlage SC4 6-pin, Schlage keyway, C keyway, or the Yale paracentric, the Y1, which is actually a Y2 for the 6-pin. And we're going to look at this deadbolt. These are really nice deadbolts, like I said. You've got the, commercial, whatever. It is a kind of a free spinning collar, so that's good against wrench attacks. Now, if somebody clamps something down on this, it's just going to spin on the door. So, and then can be used for thinner doors with these tail pieces. You would just switch out these longer ones with these shorter ones. And funnily enough, the cylinder on the inside is just it's not held in with anything. It just drops in there. And we also see another unique feature to these is the caps. Now, if you're not familiar with how this works, you have to turn the key. If you don't have the key, you have to obviously pick it. And when you turn the key, it exposes the screws. Now, these little screws right here, now that I did that, I remember those little screws are what goes down in there. Now, one thing about this is my ever popular number 2 Phillips Klein screwdriver with the round shank fits in that exactly perfectly and allows you to get to those screws. On some of the Arrow style deadbolts, there's another brand called Arrow that made deadbolts that have this deal on the older style, that the number 2 round would not go into that hole. You would have to knock it down to a number 1 Phillips. So again, some of your 6-in-1 screwdrivers are able to just reach. They're not ideal for this, but you can get them in there and still have room to tighten that little screw in there. And how that works basically is, if we look right there, see that? That is catching basically just on the bottom of the key. Let me see it there. And we put it in the Bible. of the housing, and it catches right on the front of that key. So then when you turn it, it activates those little rotating disc right there that turns it. So we got to make sure that stays centered when we put the new cylinders in there. But the big question is now is, hey, can you switch out these cylinders? And that's what we're about to find out. Can you change it if you say you want to put a Sergeant core in here or a Wiser core like we're going to do with LSDA Wiser cylinders? If we bust open a pack of these, we will open it up, and most of the time you just use either out of one of these tail pieces. Most of the time you just grab this one for lever handles or knobs. But if you look in there, there is one that looks just very similar. It's thinner than the other tail pieces. We see it's got thin, and that's because instead of a single cylinder style that goes through, so this bar would work for the deadbolt, we have two flat pieces, one on each side, that would go through. That's made for these. However, once we get that core out, we're going to look at what is always your biggest issue when trying to do something like this. So look, we've got a 9 o'clock position pin. Then here we've got about a, 10:30 position pin. So what happens there is the rotation gets screwed up. So if we hold this original cylinder, and we hold that, it goes, we turn it all the way to the right, and it's not quite flat, but almost flat, and then we turn it all the way to the left, and it's flat, almost, it goes all the way, in other words, 180 degrees perfectly. So the question is will this do the same thing? So we are going to take a pair of tweezers that I have up here somewhere. There it is. And we're going to take that off, grab our longer DL cam or tailpiece, and screw this back on. Oh wait, I forgot. Well, I kind of forgot the most important part, right? You gotta use the little ring. Duh. What's wrong with you, Jason? Little ring. Make sure it seats there very well. Flat. And now we tighten it back down. Now it'll stay in there on its own. Okay, so take a look at them side by side again. I think it goes left and all the way to the right. So I think we actually will be able to, guys. We need to check it with this. Actually, let's check the length of the cylinders just to make sure. Yep. I'm gonna drop that down in there. Check our rotation. Yep, rotates fine. And presumably it will work okay. So yeah, that answers the question, guys. You can switch out the cylinders even though it's got those. Now, if we were to now a lot of times when you're doing this, and I'll finish this up since we've discovered that this is going to work with these tail pieces. A lot of times when you're doing this, on a job, you get there and all of a sudden you have to change out the core. One thing you can do is take this and put on the new cylinder. However, that would likely not work. We can try it. because of that rotation. The cam rotation is definitely going to be different if we try this. But we're going to see while we're doing this, just in case your cylinders don't come with those tail pieces, which I know, obviously I know LSDAs do. I'm not going to go grab a GMS just to see. But let's see how these work. So, no. See how it stops it? That's about where it's stopping right there. So that is not turning all the way. The rotation's gonna be messed up just off enough to cause a problem. Likely. I'm not gonna test it, but so there you go. You do have to get cylinders with that funny little tailpiece in the package, which, like I said, most of them come with it. It actually also comes, if you have the shorter door, it does come with that as well. So that would be very good if you had a thinner door that you were working on. So there we go, guys. You cannot use the tailpiece that comes with it on this because of the rotation. However, you can use definitely LSDA tailpieces, the RDS and DL, D long, D short. And that's it. Oh, one other thing is I'm actually not going to be keying these to Quickset, or Wiser. I'm sorry, these are Wiser cores. What we are going to be keying them to is 1054 WD, or a 1054 WD. 6-pin, 5-pin. These are Falcon. And Falcon is basically a Wiser with an extra groove cut in it. So you can take a key with a groove and insert it into a cylinder and key it up to your Falcon, a 1054 or 1054D, either one, because this is a 6-pin cylinder. So if you ever have need to key up a FA3, a 1054 WD is the FA3 or the 5-pin, you can always just use a standard WR or WE, they call it, Wiser keyway cylinder, because it is identical except for the extra groove. So you could not use a WR5 on a original Falcon cylinder because it's going to have the groove cut in the plug, and without the groove you won't be able to insert the key. So there we go, just to let you know those couple of hints. Again, you're going to be seeing a lot more and more of Yale if you don't already in the commercial setting, especially lever handles. We'll go over lever handles in a future video once I get my paws on an actual one, because again, we don't sell Yale specifically, but we'll go over that in a whole separate video. One thing I did forget to mention is it is a fixed back set. Probably says that on the label. Yep, back set. Non-adjustable back set there, fellas. So just in case you needed to use it on a 2 3/8, you would have to order a separate latch. Now I will say this is the Sargent latch as well. The Sargent board locks, same latch is used with those as well, pretty much. One good thing about it is it's flat as well, narrow on each side. So if you're putting this on a thin door, like an iron door, we've all kind of run across that on the older iron doors. They were too thin for locks nowadays. With this flattened edges, as long as it's the right back set, would slide in perfectly well. So anyway, forgot to mention that. It's also held together with these two heavy black screws going through this. You would flip this plate over for, let's see, 1.5 inch hole. So this goes, depending on the thickness of the door, would go one way or another. So we do need to check this with the new cylinders as well. Yeah, looks like it'll work just fine. And lastly, another thing that I forgot to mention, if we unscrew one of the original cylinders here, we will see that they actually include the anti-punch through, just like on an American padlock, to cover up you from being able to go through the cylinder and manipulate it. So we're going to actually take these out of those cylinders and put them in the Wiser keyway cylinders. But other than that, that's it. Thanks again, all. Oh, yep. That's it. All right. Thanks again, y'all. It works. Thanks again for watching. If y'all have any questions or comments, as always, leave them in the comments section.